Hey there. Today I want to talk about, is there love? Does love exist? And to be honest with you, we're talking about romantic love between two partners, between man and a woman, and I'm just gonna say that it doesn't exist. Well, I think one of the things that I'm saying that is because I never had luck in love. So my first boyfriend, his name was Alex. I never really liked him that much, but I was lonely and he was a friend. And then, I fell in love with him, but I wasn't super attracted to him. So it was kind of like falling in love with a friend because he was there for me and he was the only one person who justified my world, who understood my world, who listened to me, who saw something special in me, and that's why I loved him. He cheated on me. And I was really at the time I wasn't trying to look too pretty because I felt like somebody should love me for who I am inside, and so I wasn't very girly, and I wasn't. But after we separated, there was friendship, and I miss friendship because that's something that we shared, friendship. And like I said, it turned into sexual because I felt a lot of pressure. I was 19. I wanted to lose my virginity. I felt like I was old, 19. I never had a kiss, never had sex. And I put that pressure on myself. I felt like I need to lose my virginity, and I just kind of decided to do it with him. It wasn't good. And I remember when we did it, he went to call in the bathroom his girlfriend and say like, but that he loves her. Anyway, my second relationship was, I fell in love with somebody. His name was Niall, and that was, a lot of chemistry for me. I felt like, and not even chemistry, because I don't even understand, like the sex. It was just like kind of like a Romeo and Juliet. I loved him with kind of like where I would go to the moon for him, or I would risk his life for him. Like I loved him with I was not okay, I was suffering from depression. I come from abusive childhood. I was sick. A lot of my feelings towards the world were distorted. I felt very empty. I felt I didn't have love. I was alone. I was an immigrant. I didn't tell my mom what was going on because I was my mom was in Ukraine. It's a long story how I got to United States. I came here as a refugee, so I was very alone, and I wanted to do music, and I wanted to be a rock star. And just this guy, like, I felt very like love till death do us part. That's the kind of love that I felt for him. And I approached him and I seduced him, and I was just, by my poetry or whatever, by my songs, I was just really went hard for the guy, and he accepted it, and we dated for a while. And then I was very demanding, and I wanted to play hard to get, and I wanted to be drama, and I wanted to play out maybe some of the stuff from my childhood. And I was playing hard to get, and I think sometime I told him it's over, and then I wanted him to run after me. I mean, I was a child, and he didn't run after me, and that was a big basically I sabotaged the relationship. I sabotaged it. And when he didn't run after me, I wanted to test him, like, if I sabotage, he runs after me, that means it's real love. And when he didn't run after me, I ran after him, and I was calling him. He wouldn't pick up my phone call, and I pursued him for a long time after he said, no, I don't want this. And that really broke my heart. I was suicidal over that relationship, and I was in the hospital because I felt like I didn't want to live anymore without him. he didn't love me. I loved him. But like I said, I sabotaged it. And I sabotaged it because I didn't love myself, and I wanted to test him. Does he love me? Does he love me when I'm mad, when I'm crazy? Does he love me? That, you know. And so the relationship was short-lived. It was 5 or 6 months. He didn't really get to know me because I'm not that crazy person, you know, or I was a crazy person at the time because look, I came to this country from Ukraine. I came as a refugee. My mother was an abusive boyfriend. I was trying to escape, so I came here, and then my father was abusive towards me. So, you know, verbally, and like he pushed me, and so I ran away from my father, and then I was alone. And my father told me, you're ugly, you're not talented enough, you'll never be anything. And so going from one abusive household to another, I was sick. I really believed that I amount to nothing, that I'm worthless. And then I meet this guy who's beautiful, handsome, smart, talented, and you know, I offered him what I had, my songs, my poetry, my intellect. I was just pursuing him, and he responded. You know, he responded to that. And then I felt like, how could that be? How can he respond? How can he like me? That's not possible because I'm worthless. I don't deserve anything. So I sabotaged it. So I was just pushing him away and then pulling him back, pushing him away. And then he said, okay, I don't, you know. So I blame myself for that. But I did love him very, very much. He didn't love me, and that relationship really hurt me a lot. And that's when I started seeing a therapist, and I started kind of like addressing my depression and feeling that I'm worthless and feeling that I'm nobody and feeling that nobody ever loved me. Nobody will ever love me. And so that was that. Then I met Michael. Michael is somebody that I loved, who loved me, but I felt very secure with Michael, and it was a long relationship. It was about 8-9 years. We were engaged, but he didn't want commitment, and I was pushing him into commitment. And I also felt, once again, I felt like I'm worthless, and so all the problems that I felt since childhood, they were still there. And then after Michael, I met the father of my daughter, whom, again, with Michael, it was more friendship turning into love, where with Paolo, my daughter's father, it was love at first sight. It was like chemistry, fireworks flying, great sex, great that part. And he turned out he's not well. He's not emotionally well, and he's selfish, and when he gets frustrated, he can control himself, and he's not really there for me, like in a deep sense. You know, you could love somebody like fireworks and great sex and romantic and poetry, but when that person is sick, when that person is in trouble, when that person is not at their best, will you stay by their side? So and I think that's a measure of love for me. When, you know, if you got into an accident, and if you were, I don't know, if you can't move, if you were not in a wheelchair, would that person stick around? I mean, that's to me is the ultimate measure of love. But I was never lucky in romantic love. I felt like, and in all those relationships, I felt like I loved more. I would give more, and I would, you know, and I felt like people really didn't. I don't know. Nobody, like, I'm never like lucky, like where people like really in love with me or wanna. Although I feel like I'm a pretty girl and I'm interesting, but I guess I've never been married. So is there love? Is there such thing as love? I don't know, but I was watching this video on YouTube, Alain de Botton. I hope I'm saying it right. If I don't, forgive me. He is, you know, an interesting guy, and he had like a video at TED Talks. It's like, why will you marry the wrong person? Because, and I read this in many books, that the chances of you meeting your soulmate is like 1 in 12 million, but the chances of you meeting somebody good enough are pretty good. So he was saying that most likely that the whole notion of romanticism just comes in from 18th century, and before that people just married to have children, and just they didn't have to love their partner, they were just sticking around for the children, and they would just tolerate their partner. And oh my God. And then the notion suddenly in the 18th century, love, and that sex is connected to love, and there's adultery is the wrong thing, and betrayal, and all of those came like recently, so for all the thousands and thousands, 250,000 years, we didn't have that notion. And for the past 200, suddenly romanticism came. And this is totally different. This is like where you have to love your partner, soulmate, this feeling of soulmate, that there's just one, and that's a whole, and that's our generation, that's pretty much for 200 years, and that's what I grew up on, and that's what I feel like I'm still searching for my soulmate, but I can't find him. I don't even know if he exists. So I know sex exists, good feeling, but that feeling of Romeo and Juliet, feeling of soulmate, feeling that somebody really, really loves you, like when you're old and when you're young, when you're beautiful and when you're ugly, when you're healthy and when you're sick, when you're rich and when you're poor. So there's this romanticism, and he's like, and the soulmate's supposed to understand you without words, and it's great for the first 3 months, but then they don't. And he's saying that doesn't exist. So this guy, Alain de Botton, he's like, that doesn't exist. He's like, what you could just find somebody, but you could find somebody if you have a healthy therapeutic attitude. You have to communicate to your partner, and also go for people that you're not attracted to, because apparently the people that you're attracted to, the reason why you're attracted to them, because they remind you of your childhood, and you're playing out your childhood dramas. And when you meet like somebody who is healthy enough for you, you say they're boring. So once you meet somebody who is, you know that they're going to make you suffer and create drama that you're accustomed to, you're attracted to them. Maybe, I think there's definitely truth to it. Definitely, because I've never picked a good partner for me. Like somebody that loves me, as like, like, and that's something that, and maybe because my parents really, they loved me, but in a kind of selfish way. And my dad loves himself. He loves me, but in his own way. He loves only really himself. My mom, she's a gorgeous woman, beautiful woman, but sometimes she would love me, sometimes she would hate me. So this kind of, that I just had to accept that this person that I'm not important enough, and I hope this is not like boring. So yeah, and I think the people that there were some decent people that I've met, the dates, but they were really good. They were really healthy and smart, but I wasn't attracted to them because there was no drama. Maybe that's why. So he's saying you have to disregard that you're not attracted to them, go forward, and then eventually this will develop into love. I don't know. And he's saying, look, love is not this chemistry, but it's actually, you're gonna learn to love somebody, and you're gonna treat them kindly, and you're gonna treat them like a child, almost like you would forgive them and forgo, like, and it should be like a Greek notion of love. And Greek notion of love is when you love somebody for their achievement, when you love somebody for their kindness, for their greatness, you admire them. And so because you admire all their good qualities, you tolerate all the bad qualities, and that's kind of the love. So you kind of learning. So he's like, it should be two individuals, and then you should learn to love each other, and you should learn to develop kind of together and become better at the relationship, and develop good qualities, and develop good communication, and develop philosophy and psychology, and be amazing, great, enlightened people. And that's love. So that's what he's saying, love. He's like, and basically most of your life is going to be suffering. That's what Alain Botton says. And I just thought, okay, my life has been suffering. And sometimes the only reason why I go on because of hope that it's going to get better. So if this is not going to get better, I don't know if I want to live. Yes. So I have not found my soulmate or my love romantically. I mean, talk between men and women. I do love my daughter. She's my soulmate. And my dog is my soulmate. My grandma, my mom. Um, so does love exist? What do you think? Or does romantic love exist? Or do you think it's really more like what Alain Baton says? It's that kind of love. You have to earn it, and you have to fine tune it, and you have to communicate, and you have to practice, and and then eventually you develop this deep love, but it's not this romantic, crazy chemistry love. So, what do you think? Does love exist? Or what love exists? Is Romeo and Juliet romantic from the first sight, or more what Alain Baton says, where you suffer most of your life? Most of your married life is going to be suffering. Most of your marriage life is going to be suffering, but you're going to be together. You're going to be transcending to a better relationship slowly by being together, by communicating, by tolerating each other, by accepting some faults, and by not criticizing each other, by being sweet to each other, and by developing love through psychology, philosophy, through becoming better human beings.